My neighbor asked if I could watch his dog for 2 days. I said yes. When he didn't come back for a week, I got worried. I called. No answer. Then animal control showed up, claiming I was harboring a stolen pet. My neighbor had reported me. When I confronted him, he said, "You should have known better than to keep him that long." He took the dog and sued me for vet bills. Then I found a receipt he'd been out of town on a luxury cruise the whole time. I live just outside Tucson, Arizona, in a quiet neighborhood where people pretend to be friendly, but most of them wouldn't lift a finger if you were bleeding out on the sidewalk. I've lived here about 6 years. I keep to myself mostly. I say hi when I have to, but I don't bother much. One of my neighbors was a guy named Kyle. Early 30s, shaved head, always in gym shorts no matter the weather. He liked to act like we were buddies, but something about him always felt fake. Too many jokes that didn't land. Too many stories that didn't add up. Anyway, one Saturday afternoon, Kyle shows up at my door with his dog. Max is a golden retriever, about 6 years old. Sweet dog. I used to have a dog myself until she passed about a year ago, and I still missed having one around. When Kyle asked if I could watch Max for a couple of days, I didn't think too hard about it. "It's just 2 days, man," Kyle said. "I'll be back Wednesday morning at the latest." He said he had a family emergency. His mom in Phoenix, something like that. I didn't grill him. I just said yes. He handed me Max's leash, a half-full bag of dog food, and a worn-out tennis ball. I should have known better. But at the time, it felt like helping a neighbor. First 2 days went fine. Max was easy. I worked from home, so it was no trouble to let him out, walk him around the block, feed him. After 2 days, though, no Kyle. I texted him Wednesday morning. "Hey man, when are you picking up Max?" No reply. Called him that afternoon. Straight to voicemail. Thursday came. Still nothing. I was starting to get nervous. Not just about the dog, about Kyle himself. What if something really had happened? Friday rolled around. I had to go buy more dog food because Max ran out. Not cheap, either. Still, I wasn't going to let the poor dog go hungry. By Saturday, I was thinking about calling the police. Maybe do a wellness check. I didn't even know Kyle's parents' names, though, or if the family emergency story was even true. Then, Sunday morning, around 9 a.m., a white animal control van pulls up in front of my house. I was drinking coffee by the window and saw 2 officers get out. They looked serious. Knock, knock, knock. I opened the door. "Are you harboring a stolen pet?" one of them asked. I literally laughed at first. Thought they were joking. They weren't. They showed me paperwork. Kyle had filed a report saying he left Max with a pet sitter and that I had refused to return him. Claimed he had been trying to retrieve his stolen property all week. I showed them my phone, texts, calls. I explained the whole situation. They didn't care. They said unless Kyle dropped the charges, they had to take Max. Max looked scared when they put him in the back of their van. I stood there on my porch like an idiot while the neighbors peeked through their windows, whispering. I was beyond humiliated. I wanted to crawl inside a hole. And it got worse. 3 days later, I got served legal papers. Kyle was suing me, claiming that because I illegally detained his dog, Max had developed severe anxiety and stress, resulting in a $2,500 vet bill. He wanted me to pay all of it. I swear to God, my hands shook while I read it. I felt trapped. I didn't have that kind of money lying around. And it wasn't just the money, it was my reputation. If people believed I stole a dog, what else would they think? I almost gave up. Almost. But then I got mad. Really mad. I decided to find out exactly what Kyle had been doing during that emergency trip. First, I went to my neighbor across the street, Mrs. Lewiston. She's the kind of person who knows everything going on in the neighborhood. I asked if she'd seen Kyle that week. "Oh yeah," she said, lowering her voice. "I saw him load up his car with suitcases last Saturday morning." He drove off around noon. Suitcases? I asked. Not just, like, an overnight bag? She laughed. Looked like he was moving out. Interesting. That gave me an idea. I went online and checked the airport parking lots. Some of them post public records of cars parked long-term. Found Kyle's car listed. Entered on Saturday afternoon. No exit recorded until the following Saturday night. That didn't sound like a family emergency. It sounded like a vacation. I wasn't done. I kept digging. A friend of a friend worked at the local rental car place Kyle sometimes used. I casually asked if Kyle had been around. Turns out, Kyle dropped his car at the long-term lot and caught a shuttle to the airport for a week-long trip. Then the real jackpot, Facebook. Kyle's idiot friend Tony tagged him in a bunch of photos. Kyle was on a Caribbean cruise. Not just any cruise, one of those luxury ones with private beaches, fancy dinners, cocktail parties. There was Kyle, laughing with a drink in his hand. Kyle snorkeling. Kyle sunbathing next to some woman who definitely wasn't his sick mother. The timestamps on the photos matched exactly to the days he claimed he was stuck out of town. I printed everything out. Photos, screenshots, parking receipts, everything. I took it all to a lawyer. I met with my lawyer, Mr. Diaz, 2 days later. Straight shooter. Wore scuffed-up boots with his suits, like he didn't give a damn. After I showed him everything, he leaned back in his chair and whistled. "This is bad," he said. For him. He explained that not only had Kyle filed a false police report, he also committed fraud by suing me for made-up damages. Diaz said if we played it right, we could turn this around hard, maybe even get Kyle charged criminally. I wasn't thinking revenge at first. I just wanted to clear my name. But the more Diaz talked, the more I realized Kyle had tried to ruin me. Not just embarrass me. Destroy me. He wanted me broke. Maybe even arrested. That's when I stopped feeling bad about what was coming. We filed a counterclaim, malicious prosecution, emotional distress, fraud. I also added a claim for the costs I had paid out of pocket for Max, food, supplies, everything. Plus my lost work hours from dealing with this nightmare. Court was set for 6 weeks out. In the meantime, Kyle doubled down. He posted on our town's Facebook group, blasting me by name. Called me a thief. A liar. Said he trusted a neighbor and got stabbed in the back. People started talking. My mailbox got egged twice. Somebody left a note on my door that said, "Dog stealer" in big red letters. It was hell. I kept my head down. I didn't post anything back. I didn't respond. Diaz told me to keep quiet and let the court do the talking. But inside, I was boiling. The day of court finally came. Kyle showed up looking like he was headed to prom. Shiny suit, slicked back hair, stupid grin. His lawyer was a skinny little guy who kept checking his phone like he had somewhere better to be. I'll never forget the moment the judge asked Kyle's lawyer for evidence of my refusal to return Max. The lawyer shuffled papers, coughed, started stammering. Then my lawyer laid everything out. Neatly, calmly. Screenshots of my texts and calls. Parking lot records showing Kyle's car at the airport all week. Facebook photos of Kyle partying on a cruise. Even timestamps proving Kyle posted some of the pictures himself. The courtroom went dead silent. Kyle's face turned purple. He kept glaring at me like I'd betrayed him. The judge asked Kyle to explain himself. Kyle stuttered something about stress and needing a break and trusting the wrong person, but it didn't matter. The judge saw right through it. You lied under oath. You filed a false police report. You abused the legal system for personal gain. That's what the judge said. Word for word. Then she slammed the gavel. She threw out Kyle's lawsuit. She ordered Kyle to pay all my legal fees. Over $8,000. She fined him $5,000 for wasting police resources. She said if I wanted to press criminal charges for filing a false police report, I had the right to. That's when Kyle lost it. Right there in the courtroom. He started yelling about how I stole his dog and how I turned the whole neighborhood against him. The bailiff had to step between us because Kyle looked like he was about to swing. Judge wasn't impressed. She held him in contempt of court. Kyle spent the next 2 days in county jail. Kyle got out of jail 2 days later. You'd think maybe he would have calmed down after all that. Maybe taken his loss and disappeared quietly. Nope. Kyle came back swinging. First thing he did was post a long, rambling story on Facebook about how I manipulated the system and planted evidence against him. He told people that I had somehow hacked into his social media and faked all the photos. Said I was stalking him and threatening his family. It was insane. Even crazier? Some people actually believed him. His old drinking buddies, mostly guys who hated authority and loved a good conspiracy. One night, about 2 weeks after court, I came home to find my front window smashed. A rock sitting inside with a note wrapped around it. Dog stealer. Watch your back. I called the police. Made a report. But they couldn't do much without proof of who did it. Still, I knew it was Kyle or someone he'd riled up. That was the last straw. I called my lawyer and said, I want to press full charges. All of it. He filed for criminal charges, filing a false police report, harassment, malicious prosecution, property damage. We also filed for a restraining order. At the same time, the HOA started getting more complaints. Turns out Kyle wasn't just a jerk to me. Other neighbors had stories: stolen Amazon packages, loud parties, property damage, unpaid HOA fees. The HOA called an emergency meeting. It wasn't even close. They voted to fine Kyle $500 a week until he fixed his violations. Plus, they put a lien on his house for all the unpaid fines. Kyle tried to fight it. Screamed at the HOA president at the meeting. Stormed out slamming doors. Didn't matter. The fines started piling up. Meanwhile, the criminal case moved fast because we already had so much evidence. Kyle was charged with filing a false report and harassment. He took a plea deal to avoid jail, but he had to pay restitution to me, attend anger management classes, and stay at least 500 feet away from me for 2 years. His lawyer tried to get the property damage charge dropped, but I had the broken window report. So he had to pay for that too. By now, Kyle was drowning. He couldn't afford the HOA fines, the court fines, my restitution. His cruise? That had been charged to his credit card. Interest piling up fast. The bank foreclosed on his house within 6 months. I watched from my porch the day the moving trucks came. Kyle didn't even look at me. He just kept his head down, loading box after box into a beat-up pickup. He was out by nightfall. The house sat empty for a few months. Nobody wanted to buy it. Word had spread around town. Kyle's name was trash now. Eventually, it sold at a loss. As for Kyle, last I heard, he moved into a crappy apartment downtown. A place known for bed bugs and drug busts. No dogs allowed. Max? Turns out, after animal control took Max back, they didn't return him to Kyle. Because of Kyle's false report and all the drama, they flagged him as unfit to reclaim the dog. Max got adopted by a nice retired couple a few towns over. He's probably living the dream now: long walks, big backyard, real love. Kyle lost everything. And me? I'm doing just fine. But every time I see a golden retriever trotting down the street, my heart aches a little. Max didn't deserve any of it. After Kyle moved out, I thought that would be the end of it. I thought I could finally breathe. But a few months later, he came back. Not to live, just to stir up more trouble. One afternoon, I was mowing my lawn when a rusty old car pulled up across the street. I didn't think much of it at first, until Kyle stepped out. He looked rough, skinny, hollow-eyed. He stared at me for a long time from across the road, like he was trying to decide something. I kept mowing, pretended not to see him. But then he shouted, loud enough for the whole block to hear, "Hope you're happy, you piece of shit. You ruined my life." Neighbors came out onto their porches, watching. I cut the engine on the mower and stood there. For a second, I thought about shouting something back, telling him he did it to himself, telling him he deserved everything he got. But I didn't, because deep down, part of me knew I wasn't clean either. Yeah, Kyle lied. Yeah, he set me up. Yeah, he deserved the fall. But when I found out about his cruise, when I found the Facebook posts, I didn't just defend myself. I went after him. Hard. I didn't have to push for every charge. I didn't have to go after the HOA violations. I didn't have to make sure every dirty piece of laundry got dragged into the open. But I did, because deep down, I wanted revenge. And I got it. Kyle stumbled back into his car that day and drove off. Haven't seen him since. I heard he tried to start over in another town. Small apartment. Crappy job. No friends left. I don't know if he ever really learned anything. Maybe I didn't either. Maybe revenge doesn't fix what's broken. It just gives you something to hold on to while you pick through the wreckage. Still, when I walk past his old house, all fixed up and pretty with a new family living there, I can't help but smile. Some ghosts are better left behind. But some? You carry with you. Forever.